past couple of months, I have, as you know, put exercise to one side. Instead of making workouts the focus of my whole week, I have just stopped for a while. I wanted to firstly see how that felt, and secondly, I needed to work on my mental health and make it my focus instead for a bit. For the past almost 4 years, I feel like I have been constantly at war with medical professionals, with ACC, with past partners and lawyers and a million other people. It's exhausting. It's wearing me down. I need a break. That came in the form of reading, having gotten out of the habit whilst I was focusing on Challenge Wanaka. Jess Quinn's book, Still Standing, came along at the right time, quite by accident. You see, I'm a bit of a bookaholic. Every time I go into Paper Plus, I come out with either a list of books to buy next or at least one book under my arm. This makes my to-be-read list of books here at home absolutely never-ending. Hence, we built a Lilliput library. Anyway, Jess is an amputee herself. She also really wanted to run, got a blade, worked real hard and felt like she was not getting anywhere. Eventually, she chose to stop flogging that dead horse because the physical cost to her other leg was too great. Her standout quote for me was this: "The only way I could possibly have failed is if I had never tried at all." Now I can apply this in so many different ways, it's changed my outlook completely. I have tried real hard over the past years to increase my walking tolerance. The fact is, I have never managed to get it past the 1 kilometre-ish that I achieved in the first 12 months. I saw the wheelchair as an inconvenient if I must. I now regard it as an essential for mobility over distances as well as enjoying the outdoors. I'm tired of being in pain when I try and walk. So why do I keep doing it to myself? I have decided to stop that craziness and use the wheelchair when it is needed. Challenge Wanaka. Now the decision about my future in this event is still sitting on the shelf and I am not prepared to address this just yet. But I can now see that I have not failed at all. That is a huge first step for me in the road to coming to terms with what happened in February. My business. Now I went from a thriving business with 5 staff to almost considering closing up for good. I used to be all about the outward look at me version of what I thought success was. I now quite frankly don't give a stuff. I am happy with my 6 hours a week and working from home. I put myself first rather than always trying to squeeze another customer in like I used to before. This is not a failure. This is called priorities. Cycling. It's still painful. I have come to accept that an electric assist bike is pretty much essential. I saw that as a failure to start with at first. Now, I still wish I could figure out a way to connect it to Zwift. However, I'm totally okay with the fact that I need that bike to be able to enjoy cycling with my husband and not be in chronic pain or be too slow. So there has been some massive mental shifts in the last few months for me. I was struggling to know how the heck to relax or spend time out when the very thing I used to use, which was exercise, was the thing stressing me out. My solution now is crafts or reading. I do scrapbooking, watercolour painting, miniature model making and candle making, to name a few. I'm enjoying them all because For once, I have given myself the permission to actually stop, sit down and enjoy something else instead. But what about the exercise? Well, eventually, after a while of not doing any, I noticed a few things. I actually wanted to get outside for a stroll. I wanted to go for a wee bike ride or a swim at the pool. I did not want to potentially spend 4 hours doing it, but that's okay too. This is where I'm at right now in this moment. So I'm doing things in small, easy to manage chunks. One thing I have noticed though is that the time off the bike has meant that the claudication pain is way worse than I remember. So maybe there is something in that research I talked about recently that linked claudication pain severity with fitness levels. So for now, I'm just doing some exercise 2 to 3 days a week on my days off. I learned the hard way that on work days I have no energy for anything else at all, even if I am only working 2 hours on massage each time. My capacity is now significantly less than it used to be. I have to either accept that or spend the rest of my life being miserable about it. So now I feel like mentally I'm making some progress in somehow coming to terms with all this. This means I was able to talk to my GP today about reducing some of my meds. That, quite frankly, is massive. Really, really massive. The PTSD will always be with me. Certain things still trigger me and sometimes still send me into a spiral meltdown. But thankfully, my nightmares have finally started to reduce, so the meds I took for that are being ceased completely this week. The other drug we're adjusting is the dose on is my antidepressants. Understandably, I have been on these a significant amount of time, and the dose I take is the maximum that can be prescribed. My GP does not take my request to reduce these lightly at all. In fact, he is very wary indeed and needs to be sure it's the right thing for me. Added to that, the specific drug I am prescribed is one of the worst for addictive side effects, therefore making it incredibly dangerous when it comes to trying to withdraw from them. I am incredibly sensitive to a lot of drugs, and it makes it almost impossible to be able to prescribe me things that won't give me an awful side effect. So much so that I take this tablet in 2 half doses, morning and evening, to try and reduce some of these unwanted side effects. This makes trying to reduce the dose incredibly difficult indeed. We have a plan and a backup plan and a plan for the backup plan. So, wish me luck with that. But, on the whole, I'm feeling pretty good compared to some of the dark places I have been to in the past. For that, I have to thank my GP, psychologist, and husband. As for Challenge Wanaka, I still don't know at this stage. But no matter how small the steps are, all steps forward are good steps.